Amanda here from createyourfuture.co. So today we have Megan joining us. Hi, Megan.
Hey, Amanda.
Guys, this is exciting. We've got one of Megan's clients went from basically breaking up with her boyfriend and then getting him back, and now he's just proposed marriage. So exciting! Oh my goodness, we're
Yes,
manifesting proposals. I love it.
I know. Me too. Me too. So I'm going to actually just read this verbatim because I just think it's beautifully written. So instead of just going through, this and that. So here we go. Dear Megan, this is my success story. I manifested a relationship with my SP 2 years ago after watching Amanda's videos on the channel. However, my insecurities manifested a breakup a couple months later. Since then, I spent a whole year manifesting and repelling a relationship with my SP. After a year and the third breakup, I decided to purchase a session and chose Megan for the video call session. I followed all the instructions, and finally, what Megan told me in the video call changed my life for good. Turns out I had believed that I shouldn't initiate text or conversation with my SP because I was afraid of bothering him. I also believed that our communication was unpredictable and unstable. Megan told me to affirm our communication is equal and stable, among other affirmations. I mentioned this one because I think it's the one that really changed my life, because it made me change my self-concept as someone who initiates contact confidently, knowing that the other person loves hearing from me. That same night after my call with Megan, my SP called on the phone. He was dating someone else and had plans to move in with her. My heart panicked and thought, but I said to myself, my feelings matter and it's okay to feel this way. And I took a minute to honor my feelings instead of blocking them. But quickly, I repeated my mental diet. This is exactly what needs to happen. This is leading us to be together. This is a bridge of events that leads us there. Everything is unfolding correctly, and he loves me, and he wants to be with me, no matter what. No matter what feedback I received. I continued with my mental diet. Within 3 days, he was pursuing me. He brought me a plant and chocolate to my workplace. He asked about my father's health. I was a bit confused because he was still with the third party, but I repeated in my head, nah, I'm not confused. This is normal bridge of events stuff, and all this happened exactly how it should. He's in love with me and only me. He can't help it. He's obsessed with me. We are equal and stable. I ignored the third party as much as possible, and when I couldn't, I just thought she was it was all working in my favor. The third party is showing him that he misses me and wants me instead. A week later, he had left the third party and wanted to be with me so fast, inviting me to visit his parents. By then, I started to initiate texts and embody my new identity as being equal and as well as communication. I felt a little insecure at times, which goes to show you that you don't have to believe the new version of yourself 100%. When you want what you want will still manifest just with repetition of thoughts. We've been in strong relationship ever since then. It's been 7 months of total stability, security, and happiness. We have equal, stable communication. We live together, and last week he proposed to me. I manifested marriage with a mental diet as well. Nowadays, I have an identity where I never felt that I feel that I bother him at all, and I initiate texts all the time. I've changed that concept of myself. My new self-concept is so solid now. It comes down to the point where he's given me his passwords to his credit cards as well as his phone and his computer. This is the manifestation of our communication is equal and stable, which is what Megan gave me. He volunteers all the information about his life to me too. LOL. In short, what I did differently this fourth time around is I recreated myself, my concept of our relationship and communication be one that is equal and stable. Recreated my self-concept. He loves hearing from me all the time. I'm a priority. Honor my feelings. Know that no matter what, my SP then honor my feelings too. Believe that everything is working out for me. Whatever happens, those very circumstances are working out in my favor. My relationship is so healthy and secure now. I'm so grateful I decided to have a coaching with Megan so I could see what was missing in my mental diet. Thank you guys so much for all the work you do.
Oh, that's so amazing. Oh my God.
Yes.
It's enough that she's like happy in a relationship and, and she knows how to sustain it. And I'm just so incredibly proud of her. That's like so amazing. Like,
I know. And she said, there's times when she had doubt, she still went in there and maintained her mental diet and tweaked it where it needed to be done and still persisted, which is amazing.
Exactly, exactly. And one thing that I think is really, really important is she does talk about getting over her insecurities and as well as initiating text and being okay with it because she's secure with herself and she's secure with her relationship and she's not making, her texting first mean that he's rejecting her and she's chasing him and all these other things, that we make, sometimes that mean because when you're in a relationship and you're living from the end of being in a healthy, happy relationship, it's a two-way street. I mean, they text you, you text them. And it's not about who texts who first, it's all just about, you give and you get and you receive, right? So, I mean, I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, yeah, and to go on with what you're saying, it's because sometimes you will make that mean the person loves them or doesn't love them, and then they start giving a bad meaning for it, and then that takes you down the spiral of events, and everybody's too pushed out. So guess what? You start manifesting that as well.
Exactly, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, I always like to go through, right, and create what I'm going to see, hear, and feel. It seems to be our huge theme these days.
Yeah.
What we're going to see, hear, and feel. If somebody does like us, what are we going to see, hear, and feel? What are they going to say to us? What are they going to do? And and to give with the faith and belief that you're going to get your intentions back. And I think that's incredibly important as well, rather than looking for evidence and looking and going, oh, there, it's not happened yet, right?
Right. And I agree. And something else I like what she said in that story was, you could have fearful thoughts, but she didn't just push it away. She acknowledged her fearful thought, said it was okay. I'm still going to get what I want and persisted through that instead of beating herself up for the thought or thinking something bad is going to happen because she had that negative thought. She went within, said, it's okay. I'm still going to get what I want. It's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The worst thing that we can do is beat ourselves up over it, start worrying that it's going to block our manifestation. Just going down that road, like this is the absolute worst thing that we could possibly do. It's just about, okay, look at no big deal. You know what? This is what's going to happen. And just getting back on it as quick as possible, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's so important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I also like what she said about the self-concept piece because she actually made herself, if you're living from the end, like you mentioned before, you're also being that confident person. Like you said, how would you feel? See, what would you be thinking if you're in that situation living from the end? You would feel confident. It would be no big deal to text a person because they would be glad to hear from you.
That's right. And you
Yeah.
already know that they want to be with you, so they don't need to prove that they want to be with you because
Mm-hmm.
you already know. See, when we're creating all these things for somebody to prove that they want to be with us, so we feel like they want to be with us, we're coming from the end of rejection. And they can't change that. We're the only ones that are responsible for the way that we feel. So if we're going to sit here and feel rejected and say, look at, no, they need to text me first. They need to call me once in a while. They need to give me more than one word answers, or else I'm not going to feel like they want to be with me. Then we're just creating more of what we're feeling, which is rejection. We are responsible for how we feel. So we need to shift into who we want to be first. And when we shift into who we want to be, they're going to show up and give us what we want. Okay. So we've said it before in videos when we want an apology, if we get to the point where we feel apologetic, right, and then that other person, they're us pushed out, they're going to come to the point of being apologetic, right? So
Mm-hmm.
but if we're holding on to that hurt and resentment and needing that apology and it being attached to that apology to make us feel better, then we're only going to get more hurt and resentment back from them because that's what we're putting out. So we're going to get what we give as far as our emotions go, because our thoughts are creating our emotions. So what kind of mental diet are we on if we're thinking about somebody and we have a lot of hurt and resentment? We're definitely not coming from being in a healthy, like a healthy, happy relationship, right? So it's the same thing with being attached to who texts who first. I mean, if you're secure with, and it always comes from insecurities, if you're secure with yourself, you're like, no, I'm going to text him. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He wants to hear from me because we want to be together, and
Yeah.
if you want to be together, you're going to want to make someone happy because they want to make you happy. So you both want to make each other happy and do nice
Yeah.
things for each other, not sit there going, nope, not until they make me happy. Well, then they're
Right.
doing the same thing, right?
Right, and keeping track of it. I actually laughed because I thought that this reminded me a long time ago. I had a boyfriend tell me he had drove about proving yourself. He said, Megan, I have to jump through hoops to prove myself to be with you. And I was coming probably from that. I know I was coming from that rejection story and feeling like you have to do this to prove to feel loved, and that's not how this works.
No, no, it's quite the opposite, actually.
Yes.
You got to come to the point where you know what you think you're amazing and you're secure with who you are, and you think you're amazing, and you have the story that the other person thinks you're amazing and that they want to be with you, and then they will show you evidence that they want to be with you, right?
Mhm.
Nobody can change your mind. Nobody can change your feelings. You get to choose how you feel. That was
Mhm.
always a big breakthrough in relationships. I remember when I was younger, it's like, oh, you've upset me. But no,
Mhm.
nobody's ever upset you. I choose to be upset. I choose to be annoyed. Nobody can make me feel anything. It's my choice, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
once we realize that we're in control of our emotions and we get to choose them, now no longer are, are we at the mercy of other people?
Mhm.
I mean, if we create though a situation, like let's go into being a doormat here, we create a situation where somebody is not treating us very well because we're creating them to do that. Law of attraction doesn't mean you have to sit around to be a doormat. You can put up boundaries, but the trick to that is intending that people respect your boundaries and changing the story about the other person so they don't walk on you, right? And at any point, even though everyone is you pushed out, you can always walk away from a relationship saying, okay, I've made it a mess and I can't turn this around.
Mhm.
There's been many relationships that I've walked away from because I've been like, oh boy,
Mhm.
I've messed that up. I'm just gonna leave now.
Mhm.
Easier to start fresh. So it's not, even though we create people and we choose how we're gonna feel. I'm not saying be a doormat. Okay. Like, let's make that clear. Start intending that people respect you and they respect your boundaries, and start creating what your boundaries are. And even though you say this is my boundary, you still have to create the other half of the story, which is so and so respects my boundary, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and going along with that, if you're going to that and you have trouble, I have a lot of people who have trouble not reacting to the when someone's changing. So that would be somewhere I would tell someone, probably, like, if you cannot, like, not react during the time that these people are changing, you're going to keep recreating it over and over again, why the story is changing or you're changing and all that stuff. So, and but this person didn't do that. My goodness, she had a third party and she was able to ignore the circumstances, and he was going to live with her and everything. She just went in and said, nope, that's not happening, and this is what I'm creating.
Yeah, well, when you've got such strong faith and belief because you've created so many things, it's easy to ignore your reality. It's easy to not react to your reality
Hmm.
because you know that your thoughts are more powerful than anything that's showing up in your 3D. And,
Hmm.
when you're living in that faith and that belief, things in your 3D don't phase you anymore because you're like, oh, it's almost funny when they show up. And it's not like, it doesn't seem as solid as it would if you didn't know how to change it. You know what I mean? So guys, build your belief, do that little list of manifestations, because the stronger your faith and belief, the less you're going to react to things in your reality, and the easier it's going to be to maintain the reality you want to create in your head, right?
Right. And, I just always tell myself, I tell my clients, not that you're actually ignoring it, you're just not going to focus on it, because I know if I continue to focus on a circumstance that I don't like, even though I know I created it, even blaming myself is actually focusing on that circumstance.
Right.
So looking straight into, what do I want to create? What do I want? Because the more I focus on what I don't like showing up right now, I'm going to recreate it. So then I just focus on, and that's what I tell clients, focus on what you want to create instead.
Good catch, because you're right. It's not ignoring it. Bad choice of words, Amanda.
Yeah. Oh, I think I used it originally. So,
I know, I know. It's about acknowledging it and then
yeah,
renouncing it, right?
yeah,
So, yeah, Megan
yeah.
nailed it. It's not happening, it's not happening. You've got to acknowledge it and you've got to create intentions to the opposite, because that's what's showing up in your reality, right? So you've got to acknowledge it just to create something different from it, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So keep that in mind, because ignoring it like it's not happening and not making any intentions around changing it isn't going to help the situation. It's still going to be there. You've got to face it and you've got to recreate it. That's the way it
mhm,
happens. It's not going to make it any more powerful. It's not going to recreate it, because you're just saying, okay, that's what's showing up. I don't like that. I want to change it to this, and then focus on what you want to change it to. And you're going to change it a lot quicker
mhm,
than if you ignore it and not even go there, right? So, for
mhm,
instance, third party, what really good would be to say, well, no, you know what, they want to be with me and only me, right? So
mhm.
again, that's acknowledging that, that they're, that you've got to create that they want to be with you and only you. I
Yeah.
mean, for instance, right, I've had zero third party in my relationship. So I haven't really had to create that Andrew just wants to be with me and only me, because I already figured that, you know what I mean? So it's not
Right.
something I've had to consciously put out there, right? So that would be like the difference, right? Is, you know, if you've got the third party, how did you create the third party is also really important. Was it insecurities? Obviously. I mean, you know, the statement, you don't get what you want, or you're not good enough to be in a relationship, or the other person always gets your man. Like, what was the main belief that's creating that in
Or
your
men
reality?
always cheat, women always
Or,
cheat, you know, it could be just over things like that.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, me personally, like, I mean, I've never had a problem with a third party. I've always seen it as something like, well, you know what? I've always had this belief that, you know, fine, you know what? When I'm not with somebody, sure, they may date somebody else, but when I come back in the picture, they leave them. Like,
Yeah.
so it's never been an issue where it's never been like, oh, if there's a third party I got to deal with. I'm like, no, they're totally gone. You
No,
know?
no. And like this person said, she made it work for the advantage. Every time she thought about the third party, she'd say, yes, that's my man, all that stuff. But she also said every time they spend time together, he's missing me more and wants to be with me, and just showing him how much that he wants to be with me, making that assumption. And that's huge. Again, not ignoring it, acknowledging what's going on and making it work in her benefit.
Exactly. And you guys, you know what? You can create a whole new story for that third party. You can
Mhm.
create that they find someone better. You can create that they go on and have a happy life,
Mhm.
and you know, and that they break up and they're both okay with it, and they just realize, you know, you can create that. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, you know, if you've got like 100 reasons why they are together, create 200 of why they're going to break up. You know,
Mhm.
and deal with that third party. Like, okay, it's your reality and you're the only one in it. So you create what happens to that person, whether it be in great detail or really quite general. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, put some detail in there that, you know, she's going to go out and find someone else, or he, da 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 da, and
Mhm.
life's going to go on, and, you know, they're going to leave you guys alone. Because I think sometimes what happens too is, all too often, there's the crazy ex with the kids. You know,
Yes.
so we
Mhm.
kind of want to make sure that we deal with all of that as well, because,
Mhm.
you know, sometimes they leave, but then we make them as the crazy that still want to be with them. So you've got to work on the whole thing, because you create all of that, right? So,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
create that whole new story, and how
Mhm.
the relationship between you and the ex, if they got the kids, or the ex is still in the picture for whatever reason, mostly because of kids, how all that's going to play out, because you're in control of all that. It's not
Yeah.
about, you know, no, it's not there. Okay, well, no, it's still there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And one other thing I want to point out, because I have a couple, you know, what this is, she said this is her fourth time. And sometimes people have a limiting belief. Oh, I manifested them once, got them back. Now I can't get them back again. How do I redo this? You know, which is a block in itself, because you can recreate anybody anytime you want to and have whatever you want.
It's true. That's true. That's true. And in fact, you know what? I would use that circumstance to my advantage. Be like, oh, you know what? He always takes me back. It's been 4 times. He's gonna definitely take me back a fifth. He
Exactly.
can't
Good
stay away from me.
call. I
Like,
love
this is
it.
getting
Yes.
old. He doesn't mean it. He's done this so many times before. It's so funny,
Right.
because I did have an ex, and we broke up, like, I swear to God, every single week for like 7 years. Like,
Yes.
eventually it was like, oh yeah, he's just mad. He'll come back. It's fine. Tomorrow he'll be back. Like, no
Yeah.
big deal. Text me
Uh-huh.
later. You
Uh-huh.
know, and like, it got even to the point where we didn't even talk about getting back together. Like, it was just like, he just
Yes.
said it, stormed out because he was mad. He'll be back tomorrow, and he'd come back. And then somehow we'd be back together. We wouldn't even talk about it anymore, you know. Let's go. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, so use
Exactly.
those things to your advantage, that it's not a huge deal. Like, it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be, right?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
So amazing. Oh my goodness, so amazing. So, guys, you know what? If you need any help creating something wonderful in your life, Megan is available for coaching. The link is in the description below. Thanks for being here today, Megan.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody.
And, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.